Well, hello there and good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to our Friday morning coffee chat. I hope everybody is having a great week. We certainly have a lot to talk about today and a lot about energy. And so, Jenny, how are you doing this morning?
I was telling you when I first got on, I said it's been a very different energy. Also, I'll tell you something else the energy. It has been the weather. I have never experienced weather like this in July. I just never experienced this. I mean, we went through a whole period. I do remember when I was in a lifeguard, and I remember this because we had snow in July. Now I was a lifeguard, so we were at a pool, and we had a snow storm in the middle of July, and I went back. See, what I'm doing is I'm reversing back into what I really remembered. And I thought, I don't recall anything ever feeling like this. I couldn't sleep last night. I didn't go to bed till about 4 o'clock this morning. And I'm not exhausted, but I am tired. But the thing is, this is a different energy. I've never experienced anything like this. Weather, all kinds of things are going off. Volcanoes, fires, floods. And I thought, that's biblical. This is a biblical moment, and we're all still not getting it we were been told. But you also know that's also been programmed to us. That is a program that, this is what's happened. Go back to your Bible. And they're talking Revelation. That's what Fran and I did. And my friend, she said, this is Revelations. I said, yeah, but I think we've been told that's how it feels.
Right.
And now we're experiencing it, and we can't wrap our minds around it. The world can't wrap their minds around it.
I think it's also astrological. I mean, the astrologers I'm talking to, and with that being said, everything is happening exactly the way it should. It feels heavy, but that's because heaviness pushes out and alchemizes what's going on internally in us, so we can transmute what's going. And that's hermetic natural law, the law of transmutation. So the heaviness that we're going through is helping us really just alchemize internally what we are and going more into balance with who we are on a divine level. So I think that even though there's our personalities get annoyed at things that are going on, or get scared or whatever, or feel it, I think that that's a part of the process. It's kind of like growing.
I agree with you on that. I think this is astrological, but this is so deeper than I've ever experienced. I mean, this will be 73 years for me for this month, and I reviewed back, and I thought, where have I ever felt this way? I've never felt anything like this. But we've never seen anything less than like 4 or 5 years either.
Right. Yeah.
We never came out of that pandemic. You go into a restaurant, it's not the same. Go in and shop, it's not the same. You don't have that freedom to waltz in, and then you've got money issues for some people. You've got things that are going on constantly. You're being beat up pretty hard, the way I see it. And if you don't have that consistency in your mind, you get pushed down. I wasn't pushed down. I was very neutral, but it was right. I thought, this is not something I've ever experienced. And my garden is not doing as well because it gets hot and cold. Hot and cold. It's not bringing in enough energy of the sun. And I noticed that's another thing that's changed, is energetically. You go back when I was in the 50s, we had a lot more oxygen. Did you know that? See, I've gone way back to look at where were the climates, whatever, because we got to look at all of this because they really have changed things. Now, when I say those are the people who are in charge of this world, and they know how to reset. They know the energy. This what makes me mad is they do understand the energy. They know how to program the mind. And then I started looking at all of the new trailers for the new movies. You know what it's all about? Aliens, 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 aliens. I thought, we don't need twins. We need people. We don't see anybody coming in as the hero unless last night I was watching, it was called The Mechanic. I do like that Jason Stedman. All it was though was about blowing everybody up or shooting everybody. And I sat here and I said, this is the biggest drama I've ever seen. I've never experienced anything like this in a movie. And that's what you're seeing. And I have seen a couple of the romantic ones, but they're still not that, not in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s that I was seeing. And you'll probably don't even understand this orchestra, but it's Percy Faith. And I went and bought it because it's got summer place. And it took me back in the 50s. And I thought, oh my God, music does change your whole mindset. I went back and I started listening to that record, and I was in another place. I was in the 50s, 60s, and I could walk all through there. But the minute you came back into the reality of right now, very flat. It was different. I've done a lot of deep work for this to see what it is. I mean, I was going to talk to you about it anyway. I thought, oh shit, I can't believe this has really changed the world the last 5 years. So,
good morning, Melissa. How's Minnesota? How was your 4th?
Yeah, how was her 4th of July?
I was joking yesterday because I was watching Crown during the 4th of July, and Damien posted a what do you call it? He called it a Happy Treason Day. You ungrateful.
I saw that at the meme on it. I didn't answer a whole lot yesterday. I mean, but I felt, I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, there's no words yet, but I didn't feel the same. I was in my pajamas all day. I had people, my family wanted me to come and do a restaurant with them. Restaurants don't taste the same. Well, I did go to Cattleman's by myself last week. I wanted to go to Cattleman's. Nobody wanted to go. So I just marched myself right in there. And I thought, you're going to have to wake up to a lot of people don't want to always go with me. So I thought, I'm going to start doing it myself. I'm just going to go in a restaurant and start eating by myself.
Let's talk about that. Good morning, Brandon. Good morning, Mary. Got some comments. So let's talk about that. I don't think that's a bad thing to go do things by yourself.
There was a man that was on there, and he said a woman that has, and he said it directly to a woman, about women. When there's a woman, if you know a woman that has only had 3 or 4 really good friends, and I thought, here it comes, we're bad, our psyche is bad. He said, that's the ones who are real sturdy in themselves. And that is the truth. I don't need a crowd. I don't need anything like that.
Well, my mother used to say that to me. She said, when you get older, you'll be lucky if you have maybe, you count on one hand 5 really good friends. I mean, you may have acquaintances, but the people that are there for you, and even Tina said that. She calls them ride or dies. They're top 5 people that are in your life. She goes, not like you're counting. It's just that's how it works out.
Well, you feel it.
Yeah, or you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I feel the same way. I mean, I have only 5 or 6 people that I really can depend on. It says, I love these chats. I never miss a single one. To speak for heart and stick with it regardless of the fear. And one day you shall know who I am. You'll just feel it and know it. That's the truth. You ride through it. And you experience it. It's all rainy still. Wednesday was beautiful, and we caught a show. Okay.
That's in Michelle Morgan's husband.
Yeah. Oh, was it?
Michelle Morgan said good morning.
Oh, okay. That was Michelle. Okay.
Well, there was Melissa, Michelle.
Yeah.
And then Ghost Rider.
Well, and it is. I mean, I'm looking at going to Vegas because I went back and looked at one of my my podcasts with Son Quinn, and I really think that I need to go to Vegas. And now, if somebody wants to go with me, I'm going to work that out and see how it's going to cost me and all of that. But I'm going in because I really believe that is one place I really do need to go in, energetic. and Sun Quan and you, whoever wants to go with. But he and I, when I was sitting there looking at that, and if anybody goes and looks at it's called The Way, listen to us. He and I were on that thing. You could feel us. You could feel that when he was just amazed that I could even remember what to do, how to do it. He said, you didn't have a master? I said, not one that was physical. No. And I'm looking at that.
Does anybody really have a master? I mean, really? I mean,
no, I don't. I think no, I don't think that
people call their master, but I really think we're learning from ourselves, our internal world. So,
well, I think we have to master ourselves first. Yeah. Oh, Sandra McIntosh.
Yeah. Hi, Sandra.
Uh-huh.
See you at the end of July.
She's what?
I'll see her at the end of July.
Oh, okay. But that's what I'm saying is that you go in there and you think you had to do it. Well, you got to be in the now, but you got to also understand from the past, and I used to say, stay out of the past. I don't participate in the past or the future. I become aware of those two energies, how it affects the now, the moment in that. I'm not living in the past or the future, like I said, but I'm very much aware how it shifted the now. And that's what I'm looking at is I'm looking at energetic, because when I was talking to my friend Fran, I was trying to explain to her how all these scientists have known how the energy of our minds really do chemically work. And they've known it for a long time. They've known it for centuries. They knew how to do it. And I thought, you know what, we're going to have to get smarter about this. And the energy workers, and I heard something. There's a woman here that in Lexington that is a medium and a psychic, and she just found out that she's got tumors all through her entire body. And and it happened like fast. She went into the doctor. He started seeing, and then when they did the MRI, she has it in her pancreatic area. They're all in her lungs, and I thought, first thing, now this is what I thought. First thing I wanted to ask her, did you take a vaccine? Because this is what is happening to a lot of people. They're being treated with this cancer because it's so fast. Doctors can't understand how quickly it's going in as fast as it is. And I thought, this is what we're looking at every time we turn around. That's something like that. So we've got to, and it's all about frequency. They've lowered the frequency on this plane. And it's time that we all start standing in it. And really, that's why I felt like I need to go to Vegas. When I was listening to him, you could feel our energy. And I truly believe this. I would not have come back. If we all could just come together with the groups that we know, that you, me, and the people I've worked with and you've worked with, and we came into this one thought that we're going to change the world through frequency, I still think we can do it. I think we're just being pulled down not to think we can. I truly believe that. I think we are still, like I said, marvels. And if we don't start looking at that, we are going to be pulled down. And that's what I was feeling last night. I mean, there was restaurants that weren't even open for 4th of July. I mean, I was seeing that on Facebook, and Lexington literally closed down.
That was like that when I was a kid. No restaurant was open on 4th of July.
Well, that was because we didn't bring that in until the blue laws in the 60s. You couldn't do anything on Memorial or anything like that. You couldn't open up. In Sundays, they didn't have a Sunday. And when they did the blue law, that's when everything opened up in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, I didn't experience it until like probably the 90s, late 90s. I remember most businesses were closed during 4th of July.
Not in Lexington. Everything was open. They had a big parade. I mean, in there, all the windows.
You'd have 4th of July parades, but the grocery stores weren't open, restaurants weren't open.
Oh, yeah, but they did in Lexington. It was because it was downtown. All the restaurants were open. All the grocery stores were open. 24 hours a day. We didn't see that. I didn't see that until the last 5 or 6 years when they started. Well, first of all, they couldn't get anybody to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember all that unemployment?
That to me is companies' faults. They reap what they sow. The great resignation is happening because of the attitude from employers that you got a job and I'm your boss, you need to do what I tell you. And that whole attitude of not valuing their employees or paying them enough. And so a lot of those workers during the COVID, they took their stimulus money, they took that extra unemployment, and they went to school and they started businesses, and they quit those jobs that they didn't want to do anyways, but they felt they were trapped in. So a lot of these restaurants that were whining we can't get anybody to work for us, they did that to themselves. So I'm sorry they it's
well, this is about the and there's a lot of people that have having to go to when you've got workers in there that's getting paid $15 to $20 an hour.
Yeah,
that was part of the whole process. Was the teenagers and younger people would be getting that so they could get billed up. No, it's not that anymore. And I mean, I went and I've been giving a lot of now, like if I'm giving a tip. I mean, if they did really well, I'm probably adding on $2 to $3 more that I would have never done.
Yeah, well, it's because and I know here in Florida, like McDonald's when I worked there was $6.75 an hour. I was 20 years old and I was a manager, but now they're getting about the minimum of $12 an hour, and sometimes McDonald's, like the managers, are getting 19 to 20, but $19 to $20 an hour is nothing in Florida anymore. I mean, when our lowest rent for a studio apartment is $1,500, there's no way you'd have to live with somebody in that apartment. So.
Absolutely. Well, see, when I was a lifeguard, it was $1.69 an hour. But
that's part of the inflation that's happening right now. But I mean, I was just listening to an NPR story. I just on the way over here because I happen to turn on my radio turns on every time I do anything on my phone. The radio turns on. Well, there was the story on that was talking about the unemployment rate, and that the unemployment rate is starting to rise. So they were making specifically talking about right after the pandemic or towards the end of the pandemic, the employment rate. I mean, you could get a job really fast. You remember, I had all these companies propositioning me for work, and then, but now there's more people unemployed, and that's getting less. It's taking them longer to get work. Well, we know I just experienced that. So, and it's just one of those things where you kind of look at that, and that just tells me that the economy is not doing as well as it. They're saying that the economy is doing well, but it's not.
And who's saying that, though?
It doesn't matter.
It's the government that's saying that, and I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat. They're saying it, and it makes me mad because why don't they just tell the truth? What's going on, really? That's even bigger than just that. It's people have lost faith. Good morning, friends and family. Natalie, okay.
Morning.
Hi, Natalie. But I want people to look at it how they are personally involved in those thought processes, because we believe it. I don't believe anything that when they bring something out like that, I don't care who it is, Trump, Biden, the Republicans, the Democrats, I just went off on Facebook the other day, and they were going down all of the against, the conservatives, and I see a lot of that in what they're doing. And I just finally said, it's not about conservatives or Democrats. Yeah, friends went to rooms to go for an interview that people shows up for, and they make you come back 5 times. Yep.
Yeah.
Or they have to have 5 or 6 different jobs just to make it. That's never. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it really comes down to this is a human problem, not a political problem. And there's a lot of things that are being politicized.
Yes.
And it's just one of those things where I look at things and I'm like, that should have never been political. Like,
well, I stopped voting a long time ago. I gave up voting a long time ago when I saw the discussion that was, with watching my mother going through with my dad dying, and when the government told my mother she couldn't be the household of the household, and my father's dead. We didn't have that right. as women. So I've seen it. That's the thing is I've seen it decrease. Now I'm seeing something totally different than I ever thought I'd see. And I'm a single woman, and but I'm not concerned about me. I'm glad I'm 70, almost 73. That's all I gotta say. I'm glad I'm old. What are they saying?
Oh, well,
And turning
I'm
back to starting
starting my channel back up. Readings take a lot of my personal energy, but money is tight and things are so high. Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of those things, and Laura Ketting says hi. Um, that's one of those things that, and I struggle with, I struggle with this too, because people are saying that, I should raise my prices. And, because, and I should value myself. And I'm like, I do value myself, but at the same time, you can only raise your prices so much. Like me and Damien are making conversation about, you would used to go to Chili's and the chips and salsa was free. Now
Oh,
it's
no, it is.
now
Oh, wow.
it's $6.99 or $8.99. I can't remember, but everything is more expensive.
And
Uh,
also go look at the ingredients. The
yeah,
ingredients is not right.
ingredients is not as good in their.
I've never had food. I haven't had anything really good except Cattleman's that really tastes right. It's weird. It's a weird thing. But they've changed our energy. They've changed in a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of it is because of our own energy. I mean, if we would just stop getting caught up. See, I'm not caught up. I'm just tired of hearing people debating each other. We don't have time to debate anymore. Not in the state of Kentucky, not here. In fact, our governor was vetted in the White House just recently. So they're bringing in a lot of the governors in because they're going to do they're vetting them. And I thought, there you go. See, we're going to start seeing what that's going to happen. How's that going to change our state? How much, you got to look, because I've been doing it for a long time with the politicians and Congress. And then they want to go for the Supreme Court. They're trying to change everything because they want more power and
Well,
control.
the truth is that the politicians make money off of being in office. I mean,
Yeah, they do.
special interest groups and everything else like that. I mean, when I found out that Hillary Clinton got $28 million in endowments in the first 3 months of her campaign. Now, I'm not. This isn't about Democrat or Republican because they all get it, both
Yeah.
sides.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I knew that this is the other thing that most people don't realize. Whatever they don't spend on their campaign, they get to keep.
That's exactly.
And so, and I learned that because I had a gentleman here for a local. There was a woman running for a state Congress here, and a gentleman came to me and he said, "This lady wants us to run her phone room that's raising money, and she'll actually split whatever the money is with us at the end of the campaign that she doesn't spend." And so, and I was like, "What?" I was like, I don't want to do that. That was like 2014. That just threw me off. And then a couple of years later, I find out that, and I'm like, wow. So, and then of course, when they get into office, like they get, special interest groups that give them money and stuff like that that help them on their next campaign.
Oh, yeah,
And so that's how
absolutely.
they make and then they invest that money. And then, it's just one of those things where I'm like, they're making tons of money off and profiting when they're supposed to be serving us. So,
Thank you. I'm telling you, if people like we ran in there, I mean, there would be, you need somebody, and that's a man or a woman that's going in there that has strength to stand up to to them. You've got to have people that have courage to do it. And I was listening to, somebody had posted on my podcast how brave I was to speak the truth. I thought, if we don't start speaking of the truth, how in the world are we going to change it?
yeah.
It just drives me crazy when she's really brave. I'm not any more braver than anybody else. So
Yeah, Kelly Joe. Basically, what I do is I buy from local stores all the time, like family-owned stores. So it's
I'm going into local places too, because I figure that's the only way to
I just
help
found I've
community.
remembered this. I remember this little market from when I when I lived here in this area before. So I went there the other day and got a bunch of cool stuff, and that's, yeah, you gotta go, so feed the family markets, and that's been owned by a family for like 25 years. So, you know, but
Well, I saw this interview with this family that were in Puerto Rico, but they were Americans and had been in Puerto Rico for 7 years. You know what they talked about? Is all the capitalism in America is our United States is so different than in Puerto Rico, because they had to figure out they couldn't just go to a grocery store. They couldn't just have to do all of these convenient things. They had to learn how to really cope in a different world. And he said, I will not change they're not coming back to the States because their children has learned to be very conservative, very honest with themselves. It was very interesting to watch in what he was saying. And I thought that is exactly the truth right there, because every country has a agenda, and we're the agenda to create, money, create money. So I thought that was very interesting.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think really, people in general, consumers, have lost their center, meaning their heart. And so I think that we get into this place of, um, well, we think we're going to lose something, because all I hear from both sides is what they're going to lose. And I'm like, well, what about your soul? What about your,
That's
what
that's
makes
there
you,
it is.
and so, there's one of those things where I look back and I realize everything has always been taken care of, for me, even in the hardest of times. And so, and even if it wasn't, it sucked in a sense, but I was still being provided for. So because there is a supplier, I don't, you can call it God or spirit or universe, I don't care. There's a supplier that's supplying you with what you need. So we can get hung up on all this kind of stuff. And but it's funny because every once in a while I'll look at the gas prices and I totally forget what the gas prices are. And people will be like, "Oh my God, the gas prices!" I'm like, "Wait, how much are they now?" And it's because I haven't paid attention for months. I just go put the thing in the gas tank, and
That's it.
I put $20 in or $30 in, and then I drive away. But I mean, every once in a while, if I focus in on it, I'm like, oh my God, then I'll get caught up in it. So,
Yeah.
and
Well, I
so,
don't even drive that much, so I don't even realize that I even what the gas is.
fine.
I don't try to pay attention to it anymore, because what you're doing is you give it power,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah. I
try
mean,
not to give
I,
anything power.
I probably drive more than the average person, but
You do. I don't, because I don't have to. But also, I'm retired, and I sit down and I think, golly, the more I give away, though, the more money I give away, the more money comes back to me. Now that sounds crazy, but I've done it too much, and I've watched it too much.
yeah, that does. It
Yeah,
does.
it
We were
does.
just talking about that. I have a new friend named Deborah Morrison, and Deborah was she's mastered the art of money, and she said one of the things you do is you give away money, and
It is.
then it comes back. And she was now she helps women over the age of 60 change their money blocks. She goes, because she's in her 70s, and she goes, when you, well, maybe she's in her 60s. I don't know how old she is, to be honest with you. I know she's 60 plus. But the idea is that what she's talking about is women of that age were given an idea, because a lot of them had, their parents were raised in the Great Depression.
Right.
And so they were given the idea, you conserve and you put away for a rainy day. And she's like, but how much do we put away for a rainy day? How much is enough? And she
Mhm.
is, instead of just knowing that you have enough, and then there's more than enough, and there's more than enough. And that's what happens with a lot of these corporations. They're trying to make us feel like we don't have enough, or
Yeah,
energy
that
leaders.
we would have to depend on them.
And it's
That's
really not true. We don't depend on anybody other than ourselves. But
well, at the end, when you die, you're the only one that's there with you, your
yeah,
soul, and you, and there's not going to be a flesh. It's going to be a soul. So yeah.
I lent $1,000 last week and really didn't have it. An hour later, I manifested something I'd been meditating on. That's
That's
amazing.
exactly the truth, Natalie. That is exactly the truth. Uh, and I have. And also not creating interest. If you do let somebody, don't let them have interest with it, because that is right out of the Bible. You don't give interest, because that is usury, and that's not how you do it. And that's why it comes back, because you're helping somebody, assisting them.
All right, guys, we've come up to the end of our show, but everybody check out our updates at mydivineinheritance.org. We'll be back next week at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, and I will be in Charlottesville, Virginia then. So everybody have an amazing, amazing week and weekend.
We also have a Saturday tomorrow, we have a soulful event.
Yes,
So
yes, we
get
do.
involved with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody, much love. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.